You see, in the Old Testament, there were laws and there were the prophecies about the coming Messiah. And sometimes we have this break that we get to the New Testament and it goes from law to grace. We say, how do these two worlds connect? And Jesus says, listen, I've come to be the completion of all of those things. The Old Testament laws, Old Testament customs, the Old Testament prophecies were all meant to point their way to me. All of that, everything that we circle in that, the whole Old Testament is meant to point its way to Jesus. And he comes, he says, I've been the fulfillment of all of this, that today, because of what I've done and because of what I'm doing, I'm the completion of all of that. And with that, we move from law to grace. And Jesus says, I've not come to make that go away, but I've come to complete it. And I was looking for a real life example because whether or not we've grown up in church, sometimes we hear stuff like that and say, how do we make those two worlds connect? How do I understand how Jesus came to complete the law? Because there's certain things that we read that we say, hey, we should honor that. Like we read the Old Testament, thou shalt not kill. Who thinks that's a good idea that we still abide by that? Absolutely. We say, no, there's some things there that I want to listen to and observe, but how do I know when we get into this era of grace, how does all of this fit together and make sense? And then I heard this story this week, and I thought this was the most accurate portrayal of how we move from law to grace. Some of you heard last weekend that up in Atlanta Airport, they had some major power outages. Did everybody hear about this? Atlanta Airport had major power outages. Thousands of people were stranded in the airport. They had no place to go. They couldn't fly out. They were stuck there. And literally the airlines lost millions of dollars just because I think it's like a 13-hour-long power outage. At some point, the mayor of Atlanta said, we have to do something. This is going to be a long-term outage. We have to figure out a way to accommodate all of these people. And so the mayor of Atlanta called one of the head honchos at Chick-fil-A and said, would you guys come and help us out with this? Now get this. This outage happened on a Sunday. And what's the one thing we know about Chick-fil-A? They're closed on Sunday, which for the most part we love until we pull up at the Chick-fil-A drive-thru on a Sunday afternoon and we realize, doggone it, they're not open today. But Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday, and so they called up some of the head honchos at Chick-fil-A and said, hey, listen, I know what you guys stand for, all that stuff, that's awesome, but we have a major dilemma. Would you guys be willing to come and to help us out? And Chick-fil-A said, absolutely. Now, Chick-fil-A had some rules. They had the law. Sorry about this. They had the law, but they said in situations like this, grace wins. And so Chick-fil-A showed up, and they fed more than 5,000 meals to customers, or to people that were stuck and they were stranded, not able to fly, including the owner himself showed up. Now, they could have stuck their guns. No one would have faulted them. Would have said, hey, all of our people, no one's working today. Everyone's home. For us to rally all the troops, it's late at night on a Sunday. We don't even know how we would do that. And they could have stuck to the letter of the law, but they said, no, in this situation, grace wins. Jesus came to be the fulfillment of the law. Not that he did away with the whole law, but he says, I've come to complete that because when I come, grace wins. So for 2,000 years, we've gathered together and we've celebrated the idea that Jesus has come. Emmanuel, God himself, has come.